Amelia gripped her boarding pass tightly as she navigated the bustling tarmac at Miami International Airport, the humid Florida air clinging to her skin like an unwelcome hug. At 28, she'd scraped together enough from her freelance writing gigs to afford this economy flight home to visit her ailing mother, the only family she had left after a childhood marked by poverty and her father's early abandonment. Her simple sundress and worn sandals stood out amid the polished travelers. But her striking beauty, long auburn hair, emerald eyes, and a figure that turned heads, often made people assume she was more than she seemed. Exhausted from a red-eye layover, she misread the gate number in the chaos and boarded what she thought was her commercial flight. Only when the door sealed behind her did she realize her mistake. This wasn't a crowded airliner, but a sleek private jet. Its interior, a cocoon of leather seats, polished wood, and ambient lighting that screamed opulence. Her heart skipped as she froze in the entryway, the scent of fresh coffee and expensive cologne hitting her. This couldn't be right. Before she could back out, a voice drawled from the cabin, smooth and commanding. "You're late. We need to be wheels up in 5. Make sure everything's set for the flight to New York." Amelia turned to see him. Ethan, a 38-year-old tech mogul whose app empire had made him a billionaire before 35. Tall, with chiseled features, tousled dark hair, and piercing blue eyes, he exuded the kind of effortless charm that had earned him a reputation as Miami's most eligible and notorious womanizer. He'd buried his pain from losing his fiancée in a tragic boating accident years ago under layers of conquests and control, his private jet a symbol of the fortress he'd built around his heart. Dressed in a tailored shirt that hugged his athletic frame, he glanced up from his laptop, assuming she was the replacement flight attendant his assistant had hastily arranged after the original called in sick. "I'm sorry," Amelia stammered, her cheeks flushing as she took in the luxury, plush recliners, a fully stocked bar, even a small conference table. Her hands trembled slightly, clutching her bag like a lifeline. Ethan's brow furrowed, but he waved her off, his mind on the investor meeting awaiting him in Manhattan. "Just get settled. Coffee black, and review the itinerary if you haven't." He didn't look up again, missing the confusion in her eyes. As the engines hummed to life and the jet taxied down the runway, Amelia sank into a seat at the rear, panic rising. The door was locked. Takeoff was imminent. She couldn't exactly demand they stop now. Her phone had no signal mid-climb, leaving her trapped in this gilded cage for the hours-long flight. As the jet leveled out, Ethan finally noticed her properly when she hesitantly approached with a tray of drinks she'd improvised from the galley to play along. Up close, her beauty struck him. Not the polished kind he was used to, but raw and unassuming like a wildflower in a manicured garden. "You new to this?" he asked, accepting the coffee, his fingers brushing hers in a spark that made her breath catch. Amelia nodded, her pride kicking in. She couldn't admit the truth yet. It would be mortifying. Something like that. First time on a route like this. Her voice was steady, drawing from years of faking confidence in a world that had overlooked her talents. They talked sporadically as clouds whipped by. Outside, Ethan, intrigued by her quick wit and the way she described her writing, stories of resilience drawn from her own struggles, found himself opening up more than usual. He mentioned his latest venture, a startup disrupting social media, but his tone carried an undercurrent of isolation. "Success is a lonely game," he said, his jaw tightening as old memories surfaced. Amelia felt a pull toward him, his facade cracking just enough to reveal the vulnerability beneath. But as they neared New York, the unexpected hit. Turbulence rocked the jet, spilling her makeshift notes from her bag. Ethan reached to help, spotting her boarding pass for the commercial flight. His eyes narrowed. "What the hell is this? You're not the attendant?" Her face drained of color, hands trembling as she confessed. "I boarded the wrong plane. I thought, God, this is a mess. I'm so sorry." Ethan's initial fury melted into amusement, then calculation. The jet was landing at a private airstrip in New York City, far from commercial terminals. But in that moment of chaos, his phone buzzed with a crisis. Paparazzi had leaked rumors of his playboy ways, threatening a major deal with conservative investors who valued stability. Seeing Amelia, beautiful, poised under pressure, he saw an opportunity. "Listen, I need a favor. Pretend to be my date for tonight's gala. Act like we're together. In return, I'll get you home safely and cover any losses. Deal?" Amelia's independence screamed, no, but desperation won. Her mother's medical bills loomed, and this could be a chance to network for her writing. Fine. One night. The gala at a swanky Manhattan ballroom was a whirlwind. Amelia, in a borrowed gown from Ethan's onboard wardrobe, meant for emergencies, he claimed, linked arms with him under flashing cameras. His hand on her waist sent warmth through her, the pretense blurring as they laughed over shared anecdotes. Whispers rippled. Ethan's finally settling down. A business associate. Clapped him on the back. "You two glow like newlyweds." Back at his penthouse overlooking Central Park, a stark modern space of glass and steel that echoed his emotional barriers, they shared a nightcap on the terrace. The city lights twinkled below, but the air between them crackled. "You're not like the others," Ethan admitted, his voice rough. "Real, not chasing the spotlight." Amelia's heart raced, but she pulled back. "This is just pretend, right?" He leaned in, their breaths mingling, but his phone interrupted, a late call. The almost kiss hung unresolved, tension coiling tighter. Days turned to weeks. Ethan extended the charade. "One more event, the investors are buying it." Amelia agreed, moving into a guest suite in his penthouse for convenience, her modest Brooklyn apartment a world away. She worked on her stories in a sun-drenched room he set up as her office, her creativity blooming with his subtle encouragement. He remembered details, like her love for jasmine tea or a forgotten plot twist she'd mentioned, and left thoughtful gestures, like a rare book on writing. One evening, after a tense board meeting, Amelia found him in his study, staring at old photos. Her name was Laura, he confessed, voice breaking as tears welled, a rarity for him. "Died because I pushed too hard, always controlling everything. I swore off real connections after that." She didn't judge, just held his hand, her presence a balm. "You don't have to carry it alone." Their bond deepened, in varied settings, a corporate lunch in his sleek office with panoramic views, where he defended her ideas to skeptics, a quiet escape to Savannah for a business retreat, its historic charm stripping away masks as they wandered oak-lined streets. In a garden there, under Spanish moss, he pulled her close again. "This isn't fake anymore," he whispered. But fear won. He stepped back, the silence deafening. Back in New York, intimacy grew. An accidental touch in the elevator. His hand on her arm sent electricity surging. At her apartment, retrieving forgotten items, he saw her world. Cozy but cramped, books stacked everywhere, a stark contrast to his luxury. It humanized her further, making him crave her authenticity. The first real kiss came after a gala where jealousy flared, Ethan watching her chat with a charming editor. In the penthouse elevator, he pinned her gently against the wall. "I can't pretend anymore." His lips met hers slowly, intensely, tasting of wine and longing. Her hands tangled in his hair, sensations flooding, the heat of his body, the texture of his stubble, the way his breath hitched. "This changes us," she murmured, pulling back slightly, eyes locked. But truths exploded soon after. Amelia hadn't revealed her full backstory, the poverty that made her guarded, fearing he'd see her as a gold digger. When a tabloid dug up her past, splashing it across headlines, Ethan confronted her in his office. "You lied about who you are?" "I was ashamed," she shot back, tears streaming. But what we have is real. How can I believe that? His words cut like ice, born of his own betrayal scars. He stormed out, the door slamming like a finality. The separation struck Ethan like a relentless storm, leaving him reeling in its aftermath. He immersed himself deeply into his demanding work schedule, burying his emotions under piles of reports and meetings, while his once luxurious penthouse, with its sleek modern lines and expansive city views, now seemed unnervingly colder and more desolate, echoing with a profound emptiness that mirrored the void in his heart. Meanwhile, Amelia made her way back to her cozy, book-lined apartment, where she poured all her heartache and turmoil into her passionate writing sessions, transforming that raw pain into vivid prose that eventually secured her a prestigious book deal entirely on her own remarkable merit. A poignant collection of short stories that celebrated the often overlooked strength found in every day, resilience and quiet triumphs. Yet even as accolades poured in and her words resonated with readers, that hard-won success felt strangely hollow and unfulfilling, overshadowed by the persistent ache of his absence in her life. Several weeks had passed when, one stormy evening, he suddenly materialized at her doorstep, completely soaked from the pouring rain that cascaded down his disheveled form, stripped of any trace of his usual confident bravado. His voice trembled slightly as he confessed, "I've spent years constructing these impenetrable walls around my heart to shield myself from any potential hurt. But somehow, you managed to slip right through those defenses without me even realizing it. I love you, Amelia. Not just the polished image or the idea of you that I once clung to. It's you, truly and completely. I'm utterly terrified of what this vulnerability means, but despite that fear, I choose us. I choose to fight for what we could be together." She gazed intently into his eyes, her own heart pounding as she scrutinized every line and shadow on his face, finally recognizing the unfiltered, raw honesty shining through his expression like a beacon in the dim light. With a soft, steady voice that carried the weight of her own resolved feelings, she replied, "I love you too, Ethan. Let's take this chance and build something authentic and lasting, brick by brick." From that pivotal moment, they approached their reconciliation with careful deliberation and intentional effort, engaging in open, heartfelt conversations amid the lush greenery and winding paths of Central Park, where the rustling leaves and distant city hum provided a serene backdrop, and he gradually learned to relinquish his tight grip on control, allowing vulnerability to seep in. She stood firm in defending her personal boundaries, and he honored them with newfound respect and understanding, fostering a deeper trust between them. He delighted her with thoughtful, unexpected gestures that spoke volumes, like showing up unannounced at her bustling book launch event, his face beaming with genuine pride as critics and attendees alike showered praise on her undeniable talent, their words highlighting the depth and insight in her narratives. "She's always been extraordinary in every way," he shared earnestly with a nearby reporter, his tone filled with admiration. "I've simply been fortunate enough to witness it up close and personal." Exactly a year later, in a serene and intimate ceremony held on a scenic overlook by Savannah's gently flowing riverside, the very spot that symbolically echoed the transformative turning point in their journey, they exchanged vows and married for real this time, surrounded by the soft whispers of the water and the golden hues of the setting sun. Amelia's literary career continued to soar to new heights, her books climbing bestseller lists and captivating audiences worldwide with their emotional authenticity. Ethan, in turn, found a healthier equilibrium between managing his vast business empire and embracing the joys of personal life, his smiles coming more frequently and effortlessly, his rich laughter, a rare and precious sound that she had patiently coaxed out of him over time, filling their shared moments with warmth. As they strolled hand in hand through the corridors of his now inviting penthouse, where soft lighting and personal touches had transformed it into a true sanctuary, he paused to kiss her forehead with a tenderness that conveyed volumes of unspoken affection. "You're my home now," he whispered softly, his breath warm against her skin. She leaned into his embrace, a deep sense of contentment washing over her like a gentle wave. This chapter of their lives wasn't born from some fleeting accident amid confusion anymore. It had evolved into their deliberately chosen truth, imperfect, yet profoundly beautiful in its authenticity, a genuine partnership of equals that had been forged amidst the unpredictable skies of unexpected beginnings.